All right, welcome back. This is episode 2 of ChattRoom. This is Michael again with my co-host.
John?
And last week we talked about kind of the generational differences. I'm a little older, John's a little younger. Who knows who's wiser? But
Gen Z, all the way.
yeah, there you go. See, and I'm millennial, represent. But yeah, we asked John kind of some 10 facts about Gen Z, and this time we're turning the tables and John's asking me kind of what I think about, these facts.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the first fact about millennials, it says they spend 85% of their day on their mobile devices.
Uh, I'm definitely guilty of this. I was already kind of multitasking as we set up, even for this show, just kind of taking care of some stuff on the phone. This is gonna be one of those ones that's high, but it almost feels like it should even be higher.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, if there's a commonality between millennials and Gen Z, it's gonna be the amount of technology we use. So,
yeah, that would be pretty much like a neck and neck tie. Depends on if it's Thursday or Wednesday.
oh yeah, exactly.
So that's a agree. All right,
Yeah.
question number two. Millennials are earning 20% less than their parents did.
I know personally, I certainly am. I say that, and I'm actually happy with what I'm making too.
Right.
So I don't know if that says more about me and my parents than anything else. But what we've had like two kind of recession moments. One was a lot longer. The other was somewhat shorter, going right into inflation. So yeah, I I'm not feeling optimistic about anything.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
question the question goes in a little bit more detail. It says young adult workers aged 24 years old to 36 are earn a median income of 40,000. When adjusted for inflation, that figure comes out short about 10,000 when compared with their parents were earning at the same age.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah. I mean,
sense.
because that's starting to even include your age, so you can maybe even
Yeah.
speak to that.
I
But
mean, yeah, I agree with that statement.
yeah, I'd say I like in my friend group, I feel like we are all around what I'm earning, and that is not high enough to bump that average any which
Right?
way.
Yeah. Alrighty. So would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so question three, it says millennials are under double the student loan debt than the last generation.
I would like to think that's a little less true now, just because we've had like 10 plus years to pay it off. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly rising, and mine was kind of an awkward time too, because like where we're based, and I guess we could say it, we named the show after it, Chattanooga. We have a few programs that kind of help people get either like free college or free for 2 years, and that literally came the year after I went to college.
Are you talking about the
So,
Tennessee Promise?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So,
It states in here that like tuition has increased every year. So technically, if you were like 30, your tuition would be lower than somebody that's going to college right now. I don't know how true that is, but that's what it's saying.
yeah. Hmm.
I could see that. I mean, that's part of inflation too, student tuition.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It definitely seemed like it was going up at a fast speed.
Oh, yeah. Question four says millennials save at the same rate as their parents.
We should. Yeah. I feel these are hevier facts.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is this is making me think about my financials.
Well, the
I'm gonna call it
millennials
out.
they're boring, man.
We got some interesting things. I mean, like we're the ones that, it's people our age that gave you stuff like, Facebook. Not that you're, as we learned last time, not that you all are on it that much, but,
Yeah.
other things.
Hey,
Uh,
they say Gen X is buying Facebook. So
oh, well.
just to go in a little bit more depth, it says millennials and the preceding Generation X save at average of 8% of their annual salary. Baby boomers save 9%. This is kind of a weird question, but it's on the same website that you asked questions for me. So
Yeah, I guess I'd even have to look at like how specific mine is, but if your job still has a program to automatically save, that's probably a little less than that. S- Um, so Okay, and it's saying we're the same amount?
Yeah, like I mean,
Okay.
it's saying like like extra income like from your job, retirement, just all that stuff. And I would, if I could interrupt for a little bit, I would say that that's probably true, and I would also say it's most likely true for our generation, just because. I mean, like a guy, Dave Ramsey, that's pretty much like the generation above you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we listen to that guy, and he posts a video every day, say 15% of your income. So, if a lot of people are listening to their parents and, some of these old farts that are successful, most likely, I would say we are saving the same amount, if not more. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're
Yeah.
being told. Kind of like going to college, like that's what we were told to do. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's why college
Yeah.
increases so much.
I guess for me, I would think maybe that's starting to get true. Obviously we had some checks in our way the last couple years,
Right? Yeah.
and if you weren't buying a PS5, then maybe you were doing a better job
Yeah.
saving that. Uh, but I think if that's true, it's only maybe true now. Otherwise, I would have disagreed with that even just a few years ago.
Right, right. Okay, let's move to a better question. This one seems a little bit more fun. It says a third of U.S. adults from the age of 24 to 34 live at home with their parents still.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely gonna agree right off with this one. Both just because I had to for a couple years and it would have been within that time range. Obviously not right now, but heck, I'm not even in that time that age range now that I think about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd say even just coming into my head, and I've got some younger friends, but I'd say a third definitely do. So it's kind of a weird thing too, where, if you have older parents, there's a certain point where, in some families, the kid might move in, or, like if you only got one parent, they might move back in. But now I feel like there's just kind of a smoother transition of people not necessarily even leaving,
Right.
and then it just going to like kind of switching who the care holder is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. So I definitely agree with that.
Alrighty. It said, okay, for question number 6, millennials are now numerically dominant age group in the U.S. workforce.
Yeah, I mean that seems accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if Gen X is, yeah, what, a little bit older, I don't know how many of them are lucky enough to retire, but I'm sure enough have been lucky. Also, yeah, the millennial generation, and I guess, I mean, Gen Z is kind of like, it's not like there's people that are being born this year and they're being Gen Z. They're whatever they're going to come up with next.
Right, right.
But we've been kind of growing at a slower rate, so Gen Z may not be growing as fast as like millennials were as far as like sheer numbers. And we are definitely working. We're definitely needing to work.
Oh yeah.
Whether we're all working, we're needing to work.
Right.
So yeah, I would say that's true.
Right. And also, I feel like, since Gen X is like 23-ish, 24-ish, depending on what website you click on, all the way up to like 38, high 30s in age range, I mean, I don't see how you could not be working
Nope.
at that age, you know what I mean? Like, so I definitely agree with that as well, because it'd be kind of weird for you to be like over the age of 24 and not in like law school or med school, not working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether you have kids
I
or not, I guess.
Even stuff like, I mean, people don't think of like YouTube as traditional job,
Oh yeah.
but that's obviously a lot of people's dream in both our generations. But that is definitely working. I
Yeah, I
mean,
consider that working too. Yeah.
yeah, effort is being made.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even back to the gaming stuff. Like, I mean, if you're like Twitch, like if you have a bunch of subscribers on Twitch and they're watching you game, I know that sounds kiddish, but that brings in income as surprising as it is. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got stuff, yeah, like you say, I mean, you've even got like professionals that maybe were professionals. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Critical Role, but they're not that much older than me. So that's probably like millennial, kind of maybe Gen X.
right.
But they took basically just being good voice actors, and then exactly they became super popular on Twitch, and they're making like millions and millions, and there's charity efforts and stuff. So I'm not slighting them for that or anything, but yeah, it's a non-traditional job where they get to have a blast. So, but it's still work.
Right. Okay. So, question number 7, it says they are arguably the most charitable generation. And to go in a little bit more depth, it says perhaps they have earned their bad rep for being self centered and feeling entitled. They are capable of surprising amounts of selfless acts. According to the recent survey, 84% of millennials make an annual charitable donation, and up to 70% volunteer their time and talents to causes they consider worthwhile.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like this is going to be like I agree with one part and I disagree with the other.
Yeah,
Is yeah, millennials have definitely always gotten this rap of being kind of really self-involved. And, so much of that is just like older generations, always looking down on the next generation, which just will always happen.
right.
I mean, it used to be like, you'd call, well, I mean, still people, call boomer or an insult to boomers, but then, Gen Z will punch up at millennials and we're like, hey, hey,
Yeah,
and it's the same kind of thing. So yeah, so I feel that's part's never been our, whether we're like spending our money like on that. I mean, again, I feel like we've never had a lot of money to spend, so I think it's definitely more time. Volunteering, is definitely big. I mean, people are really getting invested in a lot of causes. There's, actual psychology with, kind of feeling good for doing stuff like that. And it's probably hard. They're always saying we're buying our avocado toast and drinking our lattes. One of those is probably true.
yeah.
But
Definitely the latte part.
yeah, exactly. But that's not what's holding us back. It's not like, hey, do I want to donate to Goodwill or this? It's just you're having to cover things, everything's getting pricey. So yeah, so I think where we're giving is our time. So I'll kind of half agree if that's an option.
No, that makes sense. So, question number 8, it says millennials seem better at unplugging than the generation preceding them.
Uh,
And
so
like technology, so it says like they may seem glued to the internet, but millennials are 40% more willing to unplug themselves from the digital world while on vacation than Gen X. So being like the generation above you,
yeah,
pretty much 40-year-olds and up.
yeah, I I don't feel that's accurate.
No.
I mean, I just where like I went out of town this weekend and I made like three different Instagram reels from three stops and that was a day trip. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm trying to represent my brand, but just that statement is even just something that people are trying to do.
Hmm.
So it's more vacations, especially because of the allure of people that, travel all the time and do it on YouTube. That's kind of become a function of just how we do vacations.
Right.
I mean, there's also the joke, did you even eat if you didn't post it on Instagram?
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah. And to go back on like the first one I asked you, it was okay. So the first question was like they spend 85% on mobile devices, and then there was a second one I asked you, and it said that they are like the most dominant um, in the workforce, the millennials. So if you take that back to unplugging, I feel like like Generation Z, like they're the type to go on vacation and bring their work computer because like we just said, they're the most dominant in the workforce, and a lot of that workforce has something to do with phone calls, emails. For us, Casper. I mean, you know what I mean.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I feel like that's very untrue. Like it's almost like I would say it's impossible for them to unplug. For a lot of them, completely. You know what I mean? For a whole day.
yeah, definitely. And I'd be so curious now because there's so much remote work
Right.
that people are probably just setting up their lives so that they can be where they want to be for kind of a vacation. Like if you could afford it, then you could move, especially if you move like to another country that has like a cheaper cost of living. You could live in like parts of Mexico, save so much money if you're still able to work in the States.
Right.
And but you're working, you're in your house, however nice, and so you're still so tethered. And yeah, I think generationally we're both kind of Z and millennials are trying to get better at work-life balance.
Right. Right.
Uh, but I think awareness and results are not the same.
Right. Right. Okay, that was question 8. So question 9, it says millennials care about the environment a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it probably depends on a lot of factors, but I feel, I grew up with different things, like whether it's slogans, reduce, reuse, recycle, that was kind of coming about. I lived in Texas. You had the Don't Mess with Texas campaign, which a lot of people forget was about litter. And, I think we're generally seeing a world where, whether we feel we have any impact in it, we're seeing things change and we're like, hey, we're still going to be in this world for a while.
Right, right,
Like if storms are really getting, like more intense, if flooding's getting worse, if we're going to lose part of Florida, for
right.
the ocean rising,
Yeah,
then maybe the thing isn't to just build bigger boats. Maybe it's to try to, stop that from happening. So, yeah, I think, I mean, even going back to the volunteering, kind of what I see a lot of people do is volunteer their time with like a litter cleanup or like a awareness campaign,
hmm,
about some kind of local issue, depending on where you live.
right.
So yeah, I would say just percentage wise, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say overall.
I also feel like millennials are at that phase 2, like they're starting their, like they're just part 2 of their life. And, looking at, how long people live nowadays, I mean, if you're 40 years old, you're just now entering your second part of your life, most likely. You know what I mean? So just want to keep the world clean and wanting to volunteer, I feel like it's a big part of y'all's generation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we're hoping part two of like eight. I'm just kidding. Part two of three, maybe.
Right, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. I always hear like the quarter life crisis, and they say that at like 25. So that's everybody thinking they're going to live to 100. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, it's
uh,
very possible nowadays.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I definitely 100% agree with that.
Question 10 is millennials are not excited about the great American pastime. It says baseball, only 18% of millennials would describe themselves as fans. By contrast, soccer has risen in popularity to become the second most popular sport among 12 through 48-year-olds in the US, according to the ESPN poll.
Well, I feel like this is definitely something that where we live is really emblematic of this change because, yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I just walked into a store yesterday and saw baseball cards on the shelf. So, in a way, part of baseball is having a moment. We live near the Braves. The Braves did really well last year. I'd say locally that kind of brought some excitement back.
Oh, yeah,
But
chops up.
yeah, but we live in a city that also now has a pro, football team and I guess like the highest. I'm gonna get in trouble if I say this wrong, but like the
Are you talking about,
highest.
you talking about Nashville?
Well, no, I meant just the CFC. Yeah, I was gonna get to Nashville.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I should totally know this if they're like a club team, but like they're, a high level one and they've been around for a while. And then yeah, the Red Wolves are the pro team. And that's just in Chattanooga. But
Yeah.
yeah, Nashville, exactly.
They
Just
have the
had
highest protein in like in like America. Like that's the highest level of soccer is the
yeah,
MLS. And they just
yeah,
got their Nashville team, so it's pretty
yep.
cool.
Major League Soccer, brand new stadium, biggest in Canada and America. That really says a lot about what, that sport is going to the US. And it's kind of grown for a while, but I'd say you see, more like I don't know what the equivalent is, but like Pee Wee level, and that's what a lot of it is going to be about. Because you go to these other countries, whether it's Europe or Latin America, and you have kids playing, soccer at such a young age, but that just wasn't as big here. I mean, it's a little bit, but it's so much bigger. And now they're able to see, pros and kind of look at them and be like, oh, I could actually achieve this. I could do this. Or if nothing else, I can go to a game.
Right,
I
right.
wouldn't have even known where as a kid to go for a game,
Hmm.
you know?
Right, yeah. And when I grew up, I mean, just being a little kid, I now know that that's not true, but I only knew like about David Beckham, like growing up, like from the age 3 to maybe 6, like, and that was in LA, like California. the Galaxy team, MLS team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, around this area, Chattanooga, Tennessee, like professional soccer really wasn't like grabbing kids to like stick with that sport if they wanted to go pro. Like it didn't really reach out. You know what I mean? Unless your parents like influenced, like here's Neymar in Spain. You know what I mean? My parents personally didn't. So I was like pro soccer, California. Like that's a lot on a little kid. So I'm like, I'm gonna stick with
Yeah.
football and baseball. You know what I mean? Go to the Braves or be a Titan or something like that. But now that these kids they can see the CFC, the Red Wolves, just in Chattanooga, like you said, and then also maybe go down for a weekend trip to a Nashville like big soccer stadium. I think it'll really change the way as far as Tennessee and America with soccer.
Yeah, definitely. All I know is hockey somewhere, is kind of looking back with envy because it felt like they were having a moment. They were starting to get more Southern teams. I mean,
Yeah,
hockey's still really good in Nashville with the Predators, but soccer's like hold my beer and just take it off
yeah,
at such an incredible level.
right, yeah. Well, that's 10 questions for this video for millennials.
Do you feel like between yours and mine, I feel like we ended up kind of agreeing with most of each other's. I think if I remember, you probably disagreed somewhat more, but maybe it just kind of all like well, it's like well, it's true, but maybe to like a lesser degree.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I think both millennials and Gen Z, there's such big populations. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, there's all sorts of different types of people within these two groups. So, that's why it's really hard to kind of agree or disagree because, I have some friends that I don't think they use technology other than phone calls. And then I have some friends, like, that they're trying to be a TikTok influencer and, work from home. And then you got some guys, all they do is hunt and work out in the field and hate phones and barely know how to use them. So, you know what I mean? So it's such a
Yeah.
different genre, in my generation. So it's kind of hard to really put it all together.
Yeah, sure. And that's why it was so fun
Yeah,
for you and me to have this where we get to represent an entire generation
exactly.
and have an olive branch between us and show that millennials and Gen Z really can get along.
Oh, yeah. They definitely do.
So, yeah, we're doing the good work here, John.
Yes, sir.